Hi, for those who've joined already, just going to wait a couple more minutes to let some more people come in. No one is ever here on the hour, so we will just wait a few seconds. Nice to see some more people rolling in. Hi, everyone joining. I feel like I need some holding music, because otherwise I just feel the need to fill the silence. But everyone who knows me knows that I do that anyway. Okay. We only have half an hour, so I am going to get started. But we are recording this, so we will be able to send it out to anyone who misses the beginning of this. I'm just going to share my screen. For those who haven't seen me in a while, I'm Jem Ruggun. I'm Head of Expert Practices at BabelQuest, and I will be taking you through the HubSpot product updates for the last couple of weeks. So let me jump into it. Got lots of things to demo for you today as well, which would be nice. Okay. Cool. So I would love to get some communication with you today. So please drop into the chat where you're from, what you're excited about today. If any of these updates that come up are things that appeal to you that you'll be going away and doing, please let me know. I always love to get a bit of feedback on these sessions. So first up, we have a bit of a reminder on betas. So I do just want to take a moment. We've had some feedback that a lot of the product updates that we talk about on this session are betas. It's one of those things now that HubSpot is moving so fast. There is so much happening that actually a lot of the time these things are starting out with public betas and they're often sitting in there for a good while they perfect them. A lot of these betas are actually perfect to run with now. So I would really recommend digging into them. What I would like to just do is remind you how you do that. So if we just go into a portal as a reminder to get to your product updates in the portal, if you go top right, and then you go down to product updates, you will find yourself here. Bit of a tip for you, it does do a new to you section, so you can tick to there. And it also says your betas, and you can go to all that are currently in betas. When you're there, if you're a super admin, you can just request the beta and turn it on when you're ready. So that's how you turn on a beta in your portal. With some of them, it does let it turn on just for you. With a lot of them, it is portal wide. So just be careful with that. That's why they've limited it to a super admin. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but just wanted to flag that for everyone. The first actual update I wanted to go into is kind of actually a difficult one to demo, but I am going to talk you through it. So the HubSpot connector for ChatGPT. So this is OpenAI and HubSpot. This is something that we're really thoroughly testing at the moment. So we haven't got a full-blown demo for you, but as it's been launched, I wanted to talk you through it. So this is a really nice way of expanding what you can be doing with AI in HubSpot through that integration. So if we just go into here, it shows you a quick demo actually on the main page. So if I come out of this and go back to that screen, essentially when you're doing a search in ChatGPT, you can choose to do deep research and you can use HubSpot as one of the sources for that deep research. And connect it by doing this here. I do believe it needs to be a business ChatGPT. That would be best practice anyway, because of kind of privacy rules, using it for business, that kind of thing. But yes, if you click deep research, add sources, HubSpot, and go from there, it just means that the two are going to speak to each other and you're going to get a lot more out of that. You can be then using it to prompt all sorts of things. It's beneficial for marketing teams, sales, service, support. And the really exciting thing that I do want to show you is there is this library for the connector, which actually gives you a load of prompts that are pre-formed. So if you're wondering how to even speak to it and use it with HubSpot, this is a really nice place to start. You can kind of search through use cases, pick one in here. So ChatGPT customer success, I can actually copy this and paste it into the ChatGPT to run that in there. So really nice way to start if you're not sure how to use this, but definitely worth testing. Has anyone in this call started using it yet? I'd throw that in the chat. I'd be really interested to know. Definitely something that more and more people will be using over the coming months, I'm sure. So diving into the next one. This is a really small but mighty thing, and usually only relevant for people who are starting out with their HubSpot journey. One that I think would have saved me so many hours back in the day when setting up a lot of HubSpots. So if we go into settings, you've got your tracking code section on the left side here. You previously, to find that in a website, you'd have to go into the source code of the website, find the tracking code. Now you can actually just paste the URL in, click validate, and as I've done here, it will say validated, and you can regularly check that. So if there are some traffic problems on your website, rather than having to search through and see why that might be, you could run the URL through this. It can work for doing it with multiple pages as well, because sometimes developers will put the code on the home page, but none of the other pages. So definitely worth putting a few different URLs and validating those, but a really useful thing to save you time going through the source code. The next one I want to go into, so this is actually something that's come up quite a lot recently with clients, where they're wanting to do a lot more segmentation. With the drive for enrichment at the moment, there is a lot more kind of need for understanding your database better. And often there's information that you'd love to get without having to ask. And country is one of those that isn't so reliable from an enrichment perspective. So actually being able to get this from IP can be really useful. Obviously, slightly flawed in the fact that people can move around. So if you've got people that are UK based but are looking at your website when they're on a business trip to the US, then it would put US, but it works as a good foundation that you can then validate later. What this allows you to do is actually search by visitor country in buyer intent directly. So if I go into buyer intent, the obviously quickest way to get to this is through Breeze and clicking on intelligence and buyer intent. When you're in this view, once you've configured it to pull up whoever you want, you can now search visitor country. So we had traffic source here before, but you now have visitor country, and that is the one that's based on IP. So a really useful kind of foundational feature that will allow you to figure out what country they're in as an estimate. I also see quite a lot of people using IP country as a way to populate country via a workflow at the moment, if you're wanting to do that in segmentation as well. So quite a nice place to start. The next one, not one I'm going to go into, but the standard sandbox has now been improved. This is being improved all the time, but we now have improved production metadata and the ability to deploy to production some supported assets. So it's just expanding the need for it. This is a beta, but yeah, it's just expanding what you can do from a sandbox and kind of bringing it in line with what many have asked for years, to be honest, as well. Next up is the new customer agent navigation. So I am going to jump into this one. If we go into the customer agent, something that, again, many customers are asking us to help them navigate around at the moment. We're getting a lot of people wanting to set this up, particularly since every portal now has HubSpot credits. So if you aren't sure of HubSpot credits or you want to look at using them, we've done a few sessions on this recently, so more than happy to share the recording or jump on an individual call with you to answer questions. But the customer agent used to be something that lived in Service Hub. It's now across all hubs and uses credits to run it. So each time someone has a proper conversation with your customer agent, it would be 100 credits. So that, when I say a proper conversation, if it just says, hi, how can I help you? And the person doesn't answer, that's not counting as a proper conversation. It's where that agent actually comes up with something useful for the end customer, so that they actually get something out of the bot. So the new navigation essentially just allows you to dig into all those different sections a little bit more, so you can look at managing it. There's more kind of rules around this. We can actually be, I think we've mentioned this on a previous call, but looking at actions. So if there are set processes that you follow, so examples I've seen are resetting a password, or like this one, say check if an invoice has been paid, you can actually give set steps to the agent. So it's not just teaching them the answers to questions, but also teaching them the process for questions as well. So really nice to add that in. And then looking into performance as well. So there's now a lot more you can be doing and easier to navigate between all of those different sections of the customer agent. How many of you are using the customer agent or trying to set this up at the moment? Please pop it in the chat. Or I'm going to assume no one is. Right. Oh, yeah. Couple. Yeah, so there's a few using it. This is similar trend across clients that I'm speaking to be honest. People are kind of dabbling with it. There's one or two we know that are being launched by us this week. So yeah, good to know, but then definitely more for people to tap into as well. Next one. So again, one of those small updates that people might not even notice as it comes in, but really useful ones. If I just go to property settings. So for a while, you've been able to add properties for other objects in here, and one being campaigns and other lists. So just to remind you of why you would use a list property, it might be to group properties to be able to filter them a bit easier, basically help you administrate them. If you've got a lot of lists, it helps you to filter on them and to keep them up to date. You could have a property that just says list status, and a static list that is no longer in use, you could mark as used or something like that. And then for campaigns, there is so much more you can track in that. Campaigns feature obviously is being developed a lot and has come a long way over the last year or so. But you can now add calculated properties to these two as well. So campaigns and list properties can have calculations on them. So I'm just going to show you. So if we go to create property and field type, there's always been these other options, but they've just added calculation. So off the top of my head, for campaigns, you could be looking to do your own calculations on ROI. Obviously, at the moment, the ROI is based on a deal closed and getting that there. You could also be looking at doing a calculation between the budget, like percentage of budget used halfway through the project, halfway through the campaign, or something like that. So really useful to have this. And of course, the calculation property can now use coding. One general tip for you is AI is quite good at helping you to put together these codes as a starting point. It's not perfect. I certainly have seen the internal team managed to polish them a lot better, so you get more of a kind of output of it. But if you'd like to have a go at this yourself before bringing it to us, you can go in there and have a play with that. So that's with campaign properties. This one is my most exciting update of this product update. So excited to dig into this for you. I think I've talked before about all the changes to video that are happening in HubSpot at the moment is really upping its game in what you can do. We've used over the years so many different external platforms for managing videos, editing them, etc. And HubSpot is really catching up. So if I just go into this, essentially they've launched a library, which, so if you go into content, there is now the beta for video. And if you click into there, this is our test portal. So kind of ignore what's in there. But yeah, this then shows you all of the different videos in there, and you can actually directly from here go into edit. So if I click on this one, for example, love this page, so much you can do on it now. You can then, instead of just importing a video and then it kind of being lost and you shoving it on a landing page or an email or whatever, you've now got a place to actually edit it and really get the most out of it. And this kind of, I'd say this library is really an accumulation of a whole load of updates over the last few months. I think anyone who's been joining the product updates for a while would probably remember that. I think there was one product update where we had about 6 video related updates. So there's a lot encompassed here, but you would then be able to go in, add your metadata, so title, prompt keywords, an SEO description that could be populated by AI. And you can actually generate chapters as well. So for example, with this one, I can click generate chapters. This is a short video, so it's probably not going to do a great job in here. And then it will create chapters. You can also edit the thumbnail in there. One question that's just come up before I go on is, what's the benefit of using video library to host videos rather than embedding YouTube? Really, I just say it's becoming better to report on within HubSpot. It's just joining it in the HubSpot ecosystem. And as you can kind of see here, it's that centralized space. Previously, 100% I'd put it on YouTube. But actually now it's not just hidden in files. It has its own space in there, and actually being able to make these edits, getting into the details of the meta descriptions, adding your own captions, being able to change clips. So clips is something that I really like. So you can actually clip it and it will suggest options for clipping. But say this was a longer webinar, I could do clips of 3 sections of that webinar that I then want to share on social. So the benefit of having that in HubSpot is that you literally can clip it and publish it to social within the same platform. So there's less switching between, and then your performance is all in the same place as well. Of course, it's taking a while now to do that. But yeah, so if we're publishing this to other places, then it will start giving us the stats on where that's appearing. So I just like the fact that it's a centralized place. You can tag it to a campaign. It's just making video a real active asset in your campaigns rather than just something that's added in from YouTube. So Sally, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I would really dig into this. I think when all those other updates for video were in file, it makes no sense. And now it has a lovely petition. So very excited by that. Hopefully you can still hear me because it says my internet is unstable. So let me know if there's any issues in the chat. Where are the times? So let's move on. This one is, thanks Dave, I'm all good. This is basically an extension to Content Remix. I'm not going to demo this one because it's good to know, but we don't need to go into it again. I've done quite a lot on Content Remix recently. You can perform bulk actions in Content Remix. So say you have uploaded a webinar or a white paper, which is usually my example of the kind of source material in Remix. You can then actually do much more bulk edits on kind of updating certain pieces of content that have been created off the back of it, or yeah, updating things across the board. So just making it a bit easier to create a load of campaign assets from one thing. Another one that I wanted to make sure we have time to stop on, because again, a big favorite amongst the Babel Quest team is conditional display logic for CRM cards. So this one, if I go into here, so this is your view. This could be contacts, companies, deals, custom objects, anything. It's all set up in the same way. But obviously you've got the 3 sections that you can put cards now, but actually if you go into this edit view, you can now, and I'll use a report as an example, if you click the 3 dots, you can set conditional logic. So this is a great way to just, you could have a default view for contacts, but actually and you would usually have a view per team perhaps, but this then means that the actions of that contact or that customer can inform what you show about them. So for example, say they become a support customer. So we have support tickets that people can submit. If they are one of those, I might want a report showing the tickets that they've submitted. But I wouldn't necessarily want that report cluttering up the overview for contacts that don't have a support contract with us. So I could set conditional logic and basically say if, and then I could choose a property, choose a property, and I could say is known, because it might be a tick box to say, yes, they have a support contract. That could be set by a workflow. Then show this. And I can apply that, and that will then have that conditional logic. So it's kind of hidden unless that property is known. So again, the ways that you can make HubSpot bespoke to you and make it work for your business is never ending now. And as you can see, I think, yeah, we've got more in here. So if menu view is Gladiator, so Chris has set this up so that his demos show the Gladiator example that he set up if he selects menu view. So that's basically meaning that a really nice use case there is he's now set up the conditional logic. So he's got menu view, he can do a click down, and for different types of demos, he can show different things. So you could do that as, I don't know, thinking off the top of my head here, but you could have a sales manager menu view versus a marketer. And that way you wouldn't necessarily need to set up default views for everyone. It could just be a different filter on those. So lots of opportunities to really get clever with this view now. Love the option of conditional logic. And this is something that honestly people asked for years. Having had Salesforce, people were coming into HubSpot and going, but why can't it do this? And now most of these things you can do. So nice to see that has happened. We have got a couple more. This is a really interesting one, actually, and a lot of you might not be aware of this. So essentially, and I was confused by the name of this, but digging into it previously, so your never log list is essentially in HubSpot, you can say, right, these URLs should never be logged when you're logging emails. So usually we would recommend your internal domain, so babelquest.co.uk, would be set to never log. However, if you have existing contacts in your inbox, help desk, anything like that, so someone has emailed in before you set that never log, it overrode it for some reason. I think it must have been a glitch. So it was still logging them if there was an existing contact. This now has set it up so it's a bit more secure. So it basically will still block them. So it's a small update, but one that just makes it a little bit more secure. So if you have a never log, it really is a never log now. Whereas previously there were situations where it would override it in the case of an existing contact. And last one, actually an area that we don't really go into as much anymore, target accounts. The reason I don't go into it as much anymore is I'm currently looking a little bit more at Breeze, buyer intent, that kind of thing. Sales teams absolutely still using target accounts and definitely something people should still be using, but I feel like it went off the radar a little bit for a while. So nice to see it coming back. It's had a revamp and there is now more in there. So if I just go into target accounts, it looks a little bit more like a kind of index page for any other object. So it's brought it in line with the tool. You've got, again, like the deal pipeline, you've got this kind of overriding metrics at the top, which you can choose to hide or show. And then the other bit is this research element in there as well. So being able to click on here and have the pop out that shows the prospecting agent's research. So it would be able to summarize that. So actually within target accounts, just surfacing a lot more information at the click of a button, and being able to kind of flick through and see the full profile. So being able to see the summary with everything in there, current deals, etc. And then research, which is using AI, even down to company values and that kind of thing. Looking at buyer committee and the buying roles and then activities. So bringing it a lot more in line with a lot of the tools, because this is how, say, the lead object is also set up. But yeah, really nice update for the target accounts. And this is something that is in beta. So I feel like they're giving target accounts a bit more of love after using Breeze as kind of the focus a little bit more recently. We have ended early because I've whizzed through those. Is there anything that anyone has questions about or anything you would like me to dig into further? I would love to be able to demo anything else you have questions about. So let me put this over to you. Any questions in the chat? Oh, radio silence. No. If you don't have questions, that's also great. It means I've done my job. So I'm happy with that. But if you do have questions that you don't want to ask here, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. Thanks, Dave. I can't help it. I've just, I get too excited about product updates and I could talk about them for ages, but then I end up talking too fast and going through them too fast. Yeah, well, if everyone is happy with that, that is all I have for today. So join us again in 2 weeks' time, and we will have more exciting products updates for you. We are entering the season of product updates at HubSpot. Inbound is coming up end of this month. I myself will be going to San Francisco for Inbound this year, and we will be bringing back all sorts of updates for you. So I am very excited about what this session will be over the next couple of months, because usually HubSpot packs a whole load of stuff into that conference and brings us lots of goodies to share with you. So looking forward to doing that near the time. But otherwise, thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.